Alright, 5. I went to a 5-7 actually, sorry. And then I went to 5-4-3 of 4. And then I went to 4-6, which I reinterpreted as the Neapolitan 6 in F. And then I went 1-6-4, 5-7, 1-4.
Okay, so basically 5-7, what you're expecting. Then when it goes to the 1 chord, instead that's turned into a 5-4-3 of 4, right? So this will be a D flat 7 chord. And then it goes to 4, which is a G flat major chord. And that G flat major chord is reinterpreted as the Neapolitan in F major. So that should work. Because this chord here is the Neapolitan in F major, right? So, the voice isn't quite right, but D flat 1, and then A flat 7, and then we have D flat 7 over A flat, resolving to the G flat chord in first inversion, reinterpreting that as Neapolitan 6, 1, 5-7. Yeah, that should work. All right, give me another one that doesn't use a Neapolitan.
So when I thought about it, it was F sharp fully diminished, because I'm going to the 2.
F sharp fully diminished 7.
Yeah.
So give me your chords.
So I have 1, and then common tone diminished 7, 1, and then I have 7-4-3, which in F would be 7 diminished of 2, and then 2.
Okay, 7-4-3, which is a C fully diminished 7 chord.
Yeah.
You're reinterpreting
And then
as an
becomes
F sharp
F
fully
sharp
diminished
fully-
7 chord.
Yeah. So
So
7 of 2 in
Yeah.
F.
so let me think through so G5, yeah, so this would be in root position.
Yeah.
So remember, the 7-7 is one of those ones where when you reinterpret it, it actually changes inversion because there's no true inversion, or it can change inversion. Very rarely, like usually if you have a pivot where it changes inversion, if you were like, oh, my 4-6 chord is a Neapolitan in root position, that can't be because you can't have the chord be in first inversion and root position at the same time. But since 7-7 is fully symmetrical, that actually can happen. So this is a 7-7 of 2 in the key of F, and then 2-5, and then 2 here, right? 5-7-1. All right, so you get this. Okay, that's a good way of getting rid of 3 chords, right? Just to have the common tone diminished 7 chord.
Wait, that's pretty.
Yeah, no, so 1, common tone diminished 7, back to 1, and then we get the 7-4-3, so the 7-4-3 has the G flat in the bass, and that's going to be here, but then it resolves to G minor, 5-7. Yeah, that can work. The only thing that strikes me as slightly weird with that is the leap in the bass from the D flat to the G flat. Just because those chords, those 7-7 chords are so often approached by stepwise motion, you know, like something like that. Which you could do. Yeah, I might use the same concept with a slightly different. Yeah, that's third. 7/7 in D flat, which then when you reinterpret it becomes 7/4/3 of 2, and then you can just resolve it that way. So. Alright, something else that doesn't use either enharmonically reinterpreted 7/7 or Neapolitan? Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Just like, why did you use the common tone diminished seventh, Karen, just because you like the sound? Or then it like, where did that come from?
Is what Dr. Kelly said. I was like, I just wanted to get rid of, like, I just wanted to modulate. I was like, oh, whatever. Like, so, I mean, I like the color, but I just wanted to get rid of 3 beats as fast as possible.
Biding some time. Like, so essentially, if you put a common tone diminished 7th chord, well, here's the thing. It's really no different from going 1/5/1,
Yeah.
or 1/4/1,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
1/7/7/1. Essentially, what you're doing is the term that's usually used to describe this is prolongation. You're prolonging the 1 chord before the real action starts. It's like, imagine in storytelling. Usually, if in storytelling, like the real meat of the story is not the first thing that you hear about, right? There's sort of an exposition of some sort to kind of get you settled in, and then the conflict starts to happen. The same thing happens in tonal phrases, like not every single time, because you might have an effect where you just want to smack somebody over the head with it right off the bat. But usually you're going to have some sort of prolongation of the opening tonic chord instead of just stating it once and then moving along. So to me, like, you have many different options for prolonging the 1 chord. But here's the other thing. Let's say, and you'll find this. So I encourage you to think about this composition assignment that we started talking about last time, and we're going to be continuously talking about the rest of the semester. I encourage you to think about it as a way of really trying to figure out the logistics of how using these tools work. Because one of the amazing things when you start trying to actually make all of this work is just like how hard it really is to do. So for example, let's say you thought, oh, I have a really cool idea. I'm going to go a tonicized 4 and then use the 4 chord as the pivot to F major. And then you go from 1 to 5/4, or to some sort of secondary dominant of 4 to 4, and then you think, oh, but I really wanted to go straight from that Neapolitan to a 1/6/4, and now I have an extra beat, right? So like sometimes you end up with an idea, but your idea is 1 beat short of where you need it to be for the cadence that you want. So then you could say, oh, well, I can put a prolonging chord here that gets me to 1, and then I have that.
When you say prolonging, you're saying the common tone fully diminished 7th chord or the 5/7 are prolonging?
Yeah, because essentially
it's the dominant, so then you're going back to the root, or you're going to a secondary dominant.
so this chord is going back to 1. Now in this particular case, this is still a D flat chord, but it becomes a 5/7/4. But in both cases, these are D flat chords. In other words, I feel like the modulation in both cases happen here.
Okay. When you say 1, you mean the original key to the pivot to the new key, the modulated key. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Can we do a modally borrowed next? Well, that was sort of, I guess.
Do you have one? Did you use a modally borrowed, or
I
did?
mean, the only one I guess I would have done was like the B flat minor maybe, or the B flat major.
Did you write a progression out with one? Okay. Did anybody use a modally borrowed? No? Okay. Yeah, so that was the first one that occurred to me. And it's funny because just thinking this through on my drive in this morning, I didn't think about the Neapolitan aspect of it for whatever reason, and that, once I started thinking it more, I was like, oh, that's the easiest way of doing it. Just thinking about the 4 chord in F major is a Neapolitan. But I was thinking about modal borrowing. So, for example, you could go. What did I do first?
Did you use the B flat?
So I went, but I just couldn't remember what the first chord that I wrote was. So I went to 4 here, so 1 to 4, and then to 5, and then to 6. And I reinterpreted that 6 as a modally borrowed 4 in the key of F major. And then I went to 2, half diminished 6, 5, and then 5, 7, 1. Reinterpreted as minor 4 in the key of F major. It's G half diminished 7, so that's the 2, 6, 5, 5, 7, 1. Now that does feel like cheating a little bit, just because I'm essentially modulating from D flat major to F minor, which are closely related, and you only know it's F major when you get this final A here, right?
Still works.
What's that?
Still accomplish the assignment.
Right, yeah, it goes to F major. I guess what I'm saying is that by using that particular modal borrowing conceit here, in a lot of ways, it's almost more like I've just gone to F minor and then had a Picardy third at the end. So, whatever you want to take away from that. All right. Any other pivots? James?
I didn't write this out as a chord progression, and it might just be too weird, but you could do a 5, 7, flat 5 of 7 in D flat, which you could respell in F as the French augmented 6.
I thought we don't do 5, 7 till 7.
Hold on, let me conceptualize that for a moment. So,
So you're saying that would be a G?
A G7 flat 5, which is 5, 7, flat 5 of 7.
G7.
Which would be.
Yeah, I think because I don't think there's any way that we would hear that G7 flat 5 as being. Let's see, how would I use this? So, something like that. I guess you would carry that over. I mean, it works. I feel like this you'd probably call that first chord something else. Because I don't think we're hearing it as wanting to go to 7, because that's diminished. So that's not really part of the vocabulary to think of it that way. Yeah, so you'd probably think of a better way of labeling that would be to call it 1 and then 5, 7, flat 5 of 4, because that would be D flat, F, C flat, then A double flat, which is the same as G, right? Because remember, that chord is always 2 different chords, right, that are a tritone apart. So you could think of it as a G altered G7 flat 5, but it's also a D flat 7 flat 5. And that one works grammatically, and the G7 flat 5 doesn't, in terms of what we call it. But then you could reinterpret that as being the French augmented in the key of F major. You'd have to do something else to set it up first.
Yeah,
but
we need one more key to transition to that, right?
Right, exactly. So
It's not one stop, 2
Right.
stops.
that's the perfect example of what I was saying about kind of finding a way for filler or biding time. Because if you came up with that idea and you're like, oh, I can go from here to this D flat 7 flat 5, which is like a French augmented 6, and now I'm on 5 in F major. And then you're like, oh wait, I got time to kill before I go there. So you could do 1, common tone diminished 7, 1, then you could do that particular chord. Actually, I think we end up in the wrong voicing though, which is the other challenge of this one. Like you might have come up with a cool idea, and then you start writing it out, and you're like, oh, this doesn't connect voice leading wise. But if you did something like this.
What did you change?
So I went from 1 to common tone diminished 7, back to 1. So in essence, it's almost just like a pedal bass there. Yeah, it's really cool, but it ends up with the wrong 5/7 chord.
So it didn't work, or?
It doesn't work as voice leading wise. If I had set this up and said modulate from D flat major to F major in this many beats, but I didn't specify the voice leading, then it would have worked beautifully. And there's probably more that we could do to set it up properly. It's just I kind of like the way that sounded, what I just played there, but I ended up on the same 1 chord, but the 5/7 chord had G in the soprano. Yeah, Brittany.
I overcomplicated myself and I tried doing, I wouldn't know what figure bass or anything, but I was trying to figure out how I could do it from D flat to D to E flat to E and then a German 6.
Well, I love that.
How?
So like a chromatically rising idea.
You don't have enough chords.
So like the bass would go that way.
Yeah.
So D natural, E flat, E, and then you would go to the
German 6.
German. I think you could probably make it work. Yeah, you could. So think about it this way. If you went D natural and you made this like a 5/6/5 of 2, and then it went to a 2 chord, and then you made this like a 7/7 of 3. So this would be an E fully diminished 7 chord, and then that gets reinterpreted as 7/7, and then you just go here, but then you would just, you wouldn't have room for the German augmented 6 chord probably, because if you went straight from the E natural to that, then